And if I have a hotel and somebody comes in from China, that's a small amount of money. It sounds like a lot of money. That's a small. But I was doing services for that. People were staying in these massive hotels, these beautiful hotels, because I have the best hotels. I have the best clubs. I have the best clubs. I have great stuff. And they stay there and they pay. I don't get $8 million for doing nothing.
That was Donald Trump at a completely unhinged town hall in Iowa, just admitting to felonies and treason and violations of the emolument clause under the United States Constitution. I mean, you heard what he said there. He was bragging about profiting for his businesses while he was disgracing the White House. But that just goes for normalcy right now in the MAGA Republican Party, but we should not, as democracy-loving Americans, ever accept that that is normal. That is criminal, that is treasonous, that is traitorous, and we have to call it out over and over again. And here, Donald Trump says that he may not support or probably won't support NATO. This is a message that he repeats over and over again. He loves Vladimir Putin. He loves Kim Jong-un. He praises President Xi, and then he talks about taking America out of the NATO alliance and making sure that our enemies are stronger and our allies are weaker. Play the clip.
What a second Trump term would mean. Would you be committed to NATO, for example, in a second Trump term?
Depends if they treat us properly. Look, NATO is taking advantage of our country. The European countries took advantage of, I want to use the word starting with an S, but I don't want to do it because I see some young, very good-looking children in the audience, and I assume they're watching on television. But they took advantage of us on trade, and then they took advantage of us on our military protection. Of the 28 countries at the time, only 8 countries were paid up. We were paying the difference. And I went to them, I said, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. And they said, do you mean that? I said, I mean that. And the next day, billions of dollars poured into NATO. The reason they have money right now to prosecute what they're doing with helping Ukraine is because of the money I got them. So, peace through strength.
Donald Trump asked a very straightforward question on abortion. Here is his complete and utter word salad response. Play the clip.
But he's doing very, very poorly. It happened to coincide with that. Because a lot of people say if you talk 5 or 6 weeks, a lot of women don't know if they're pregnant in 5 or 6 weeks. I want to get something where people are happy. This has been tearing our country apart for 50 years. Nobody's been able to do anything. And again, you can only ask that question, and you ask it brilliantly. And I understand exactly where you're coming from. I love where you're coming from. But we still have to win elections. And they've used this, we have some great Republicans, and they're great on the issue, and you would love them on the issue. And a lot of them have just been decimated in the election. Decimated. I mean, absolutely. So we're going to come up with something that people want and people like. I would love you to, first of all, you have to go with your heart. Okay, you have to go with your heart first. Go with your heart, your mind, go with it. But you do also have to put in there a little bit. You have to win elections. But if it weren't for me with Roe v. Wade, you wouldn't even be talking about this.
Donald Trump bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade. Play the clip.
Because for 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it. They wanted to get it back, right? You wouldn't have that. There would be no question. Nobody else was going to get that done but me. Yeah. And we did it, and we did something that was a miracle.
By the way, the entire time he was just sniffling like crazy. Play the clip.
I think it was done out of incompetence. That's what I think. I believe that a scientist went out, said hello to his girlfriend, and that was the end of that. She died, and then people started dying all over the place. But who knows? Who knows? I can tell you one thing. I got along with President Xi.
Donald Trump claiming that there were no terrorists when he was in office in 2016. He was not in office in 2016. Play the clip.
In 2016, they had no terrorists that they know of that came into the country. None. I had the travel ban.
Donald Trump talking about how a second term would be all about retribution. Play the clip.
When you're in your rallies, you spend a lot of time talking about retribution. And so there are questions about how much a second term of a Donald Trump presidency, second term, would be about retribution and looking backwards and grievances, and how much would be looking forward.
Well, first of all, a lot of people would say that that's not so bad.
Donald Trump talking about how he's rooting for an economic crash and that he previously said so. Play the clip.
You said this week in an interview that if there's an economic crash, that you hope it happens now.
Yeah.
And by the way, this was the previous clip earlier in the week where Donald Trump says that he was rooting for an economic crash while President Biden is in office right now. Play this clip.
When there's a crash, I hope it's going to be during this next 12 months, because I don't want to be Herbert Hoover. The one president, I just don't want to be Herbert Hoover.
Once again, he repeats the line about being a dictator from day one. Play the clip.
You know, it's interesting. I did a show, Sean Hannity. Did you ever hear of him? He's a very nice man. And he said, essentially, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? Tell me. I think he was trying to give me a nicer question than maybe you guys would. He meant it very well. I said, I'm going to be a dictator for one day.
Again, the very whiny, weak, desperate Donald Trump says that the questions that he's getting from the audience are very unfair. Play this clip.
Some of my friends that supported you in 2020 are not this time because they believe a Trump presidency will bring 4 years of chaos due to your haters. What is your response to them?
Well, I think, first of all, I'm glad you're asking the question. And I'm very glad that you started off by saying you're with me because I want you on my side. I figured maybe Fox would have written that question if it was just the second part of the question. But just so you understand.
We didn't write any of the questions. You all wrote the questions, just to be clear.
We'll figure that one out pretty soon.
Trump bragging again about overturning Roe v. Wade. Play the clip.
If it weren't for me with Roe v. Wade, you wouldn't even be talking about this. You wouldn't be asking that question because we'd right back.
Then at the beginning of this whole thing, Donald Trump appeared to be lost when Fox asked him to come out on stage. Play the clip.
Donald Trump, welcome. We'll do it again. Here we go.
Thank you very much.
So Donald Trump was too cowardly to actually show up at the debate in Iowa. So he got his propaganda network Fox to host that thing, give him softballs, and you saw how horrific it still was. But there was a debate of the remaining Republican nominees. You had Nikki Haley, the primary candidates. You had Nikki Haley and you had Ron DeSantis. And Nikki Haley right here, though, coming out firing against Donald Trump, especially after Chris Christie suspended his campaign. Here, Nikki Haley goes after Donald Trump for adding $8 trillion in debt. Play the clip.
I wish Donald Trump was up here on this stage. He's the one that I'm running against. He's the one that I wish would be here. He needs to be defending his record. Right now, he's not defending the fact that he allowed us to have $8 trillion in debt over 4 years that our kids are never going to forgive us.
Nikki Haley going after Donald Trump for Donald Trump trying to overturn states' rights. Play this clip.
Well, I mean, I think that he says January 6th was a beautiful day. I don't think it was a beautiful day. I think you look at that. He thinks that he could go and bring in the fact that he wanted to change what the states did, the fact that he wanted to overturn the elections in D.C., those votes happen at the state level. You don't ever allow in D.C. for those votes.
And I give Nikki Haley some credit on this one right here. Not a lot of the other stuff that she says, but here she says this about Donald Trump being a loser. Play this clip. She's fighting for that New Hampshire win right now. Play this clip.
I think ballots need to be counted on Election Day, and you should get results on Election Day. But that election, Trump lost it. Biden won that election, and the idea that he's gone and carried this out forever to the point that he's going to continue to say these things to scare the American people are wrong. We've seen a lot of states come together and do more election integrity bills. We need to do more than that. We still have 3 or 4 states that I'm worried about that don't have that. But at the end of the day, I will always defend and fight for the Constitution. That's what we should do as Americans. I think what happened on January 6th was a terrible day, and I think President Trump will have to answer for it.
Folks, I don't know if you're seeing it or feeling it the way we are here, but there is a massive momentum shift taking place right now, the type that we said was going to happen back in 2023. Donald Trump just looking weaker and more desperate and whinier than ever. There's just a palpable weakness, just the whiningness. And then you have Nikki Haley right there, who's given Donald Trump a run for his bankruptcy. I was going to say a run for his money, but his moral and an actual bankruptcy. Nikki Haley, I think, as I said before, I was saying this in 2023, I think Nikki Haley's going to win New Hampshire with Chris Christie out of the race. I think that those votes go to her. I think we'll start seeing polls coming out showing that she's in the lead. And I think Donald Trump will continue to falter and fail like we're seeing him do right there. And again, the things that he's saying out loud, any one of these things for any other candidate is disqualifying. And I know regular other media is not talking about it in those terms. We are. And they're starting to. And that's how we all have to talk about it. Donald Trump is a weak, treasonous, traitorous loser who pals around with people like Epstein. Donald Trump said that Epstein, back in 2002, Donald Trump said was a great guy. Hangs out with lots of young girls, Donald Trump said. Great guy, and that's what he's known for. Donald Trump hung around with Ghislaine Maxwell, Madam Maxwell, his entire his life. We've been doing lots of videos on that. He wished her well. Donald Trump saying horrific things about young girls. That's all on audio recording, which we play here on the MeidasTouch network over and over again. From every aspect, this person is a sick, disgusting human being, and very weak too. Keep calling him out every single day. We're going to win this one for our democracy, the pro-democracy community uniting. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. We're very close to 2 million subscribers. You think we'll hit it this month? Help us get there and check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Have a great day.
Thanks so much for watching. We're only a few subscribers short of 2 million subs. Please subscribe right now to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel for free and help us grow this unapologetically pro-democracy network.